Do you feel it, warrior? That thinness in your own mind, that brittle, glass-like quality that threatens to shatter with the next piece of bad news, the next critical email, the next unexpected bill. It's the exhausting, silent battle you fight every single day. The battle of being a glass cannon in a world that throws stones. You feel it in your chest when you think about the future. You feel it in your gut when you face a new challenge. It's the crippling sense that you are mentally defenseless. Against the chaos of life, a soldier sent to the front lines without armor, bracing for an impact that you know is coming and you know you won't withstand. Your arena is a storm of light and noise, and the enemy's most effective weapon is in your hand. That phone is a portal, a direct line for chaos to invade your skull. Every notification is an incoming arrow. Every headline screaming crisis is a siege engine battering your peace. You scroll through the curated victories of others and feel your own worth hollowed out, piece by piece, as the algorithm of anxiety profits from your fear and outrage. This isn't living, it's a state of perpetual defense, a constant low-grade flinch. You are a ship without a rudder in a digital hurricane, tossed violently by every wave of external opinion and event, and you are exhausted from just trying to stay afloat. And the worst part? The most vicious enemy isn't out there. It's inside. It's that voice, the Inner Inquisitor, that takes every external attack as proof of its one soul-crushing lie. See, the world is dangerous and you are too fragile to face it. Your fear is a warning, your doubt is wisdom. Retreat, hunker down, safety is the ultimate prize. This lie is the poison that turns your ambition into anxiety. It's the saboteur that whispers that you are not enough, that you will break under pressure, that it's better to stay small and safe than to risk the emotional pain of failure. This voice is the architect of your cage. So you live in a defensive crouch. You don't launch the business. You don't ask for the promotion. You don't pursue what you truly want. Why? Because you dread the emotional fallout of failure more than you desire the glory of victory. You have tried to fix this. You've plastered on the cheap armor of positive affirmations, only to feel them crack at the first sign of real pressure. You've used mindfulness apps that offer a temporary ceasefire, but never, ever prepare you for war. You remain a passenger in your own life, a reactor, not an actor, destined to become a ghost, haunted by the potential you were too fragile to pursue. The cost of this inaction is your one life, dissolving into a quiet history of what could have been. But what if I told you there was a different way? Not a flimsy shield, but an impenetrable fortress. What if I told you there was a code, forged in the fires of ancient battlefields and tested in the unforgiving colosseums of Rome, designed specifically to build this fortress inside of you? This isn't philosophy for dusty books. This is an arsenal. It is the raw, brutal technology of Stoicism, and it holds the blueprint for your inner citadel, a command center in your soul from which you dictate terms to the world, not the other way around. It is the power to stand in the heart of the storm and feel nothing but the calm certainty of your own strength. In the minutes that follow, we are not going to talk. We are going to build. I will give you the 3 lost codes to forge your mind into unbreakable armor. We will expose the lies, shatter the weakness, and build your fortress brick by disciplined brick. But this is not a spectator sport. This is an arena, and entry requires a toll. Before we raise the first weapon, prove your commitment now. Subscribe to this channel and strike the like button. Warriors, do not enter battle half-hearted. Then, go to the comments and write your declaration of war, your personal mantra. It can be as simple as "My mind is a fortress," or "I will not break." This is your first hammer swing. This is the first spark on the anvil. Your transformation begins with this single act of will. Let's be brutally honest, warrior. This isn't a phase. It's not a bad week. It's a disease. A modern plague of the mind that we will call the sickness of the unforged. It's a rot that begins in the marrow of your will and spreads outward, infecting every single thing you touch. It's the worship of comfort as the highest good and the terror of pain as the ultimate evil. You have been trained since birth to seek the path of least resistance, to retreat from friction, to medicate discomfort. This sickness convinces you that your fragility is a permanent condition, a factory setting you cannot change. And so you live your life not in pursuit of victory, but in a desperate, pathetic scramble to avoid scratches. Look at your body. It is the physical scripture of your mind's surrender. That hesitation before a heavy lift in the gym. That's the sickness whispering, what if you fail? What if it's too hard? The choice for the greasy takeout over the clean meal you know you should cook. That's the sickness screaming for the immediate dopamine hit of ease over the delayed satisfaction of discipline. Your posture has become a question mark. Your breath is shallow, a constant state of low-grade panic. Your body was designed to be a weapon, a vessel for a powerful will. Instead, you have allowed it to become a soft prison, a storage unit for your fears, aches, and excuses. It is the direct, physical evidence of your mind's cowardice. Now look at your career. It is a battlefield littered with your own abandoned ambitions. How many brilliant ideas have died in your drafts folder, murdered by the fear of criticism? How many projects have you started with fire in your heart, only to let them fizzle out the moment you met real grinding resistance? You are the glass cannon. You have the firepower, the intelligence, the skill. But the moment the enemy, a critical boss, a failed launch, a difficult client, returns fire, you shatter. And so you watch, seething with a quiet, impotent jealousy, as others, perhaps less talented but infinitely more resilient, climb the mountains you were too afraid to even attempt. Your professional life isn't a story of ascent, it's a flat line of unrealized potential. This poison seeps into your relationships, turning you from a pillar into a parasite. You cannot be a rock for your family if you are made of sand. You cannot lead your partner through a storm if you dissolve in the rain. Your emotional volatility, your constant need for reassurance, your inability to handle pressure without lashing out or shutting down. This makes you a liability. You become an emotional black hole, draining the strength and patience of those who love you most. They learn, slowly and painfully, not to rely on you when things get hard. And so, the deepest human connection, the bond forged in shared struggle, is denied to you. You are loved, perhaps, but you are not respected as a warrior. And you have tried to fight this, haven't you? You've embraced the modern gospel of self-care. You've mistaken comfort for healing. The bubble baths, the mindless scrolling, the binge-watching, you call it recharging. But it is nothing more than a tactical retreat. It is anesthetic. It is numbing the wound instead of cauterizing it. True self-care is not soft. It is the forging of steel. It is the ice-cold shower. It is the workout that tears you down to build you back up. It is the difficult conversation you've been avoiding. It is the brutal act of choosing discipline over distraction. The lie of comfortable self-care is the sickness's most clever trick. It convinces you to treat the poison with a sweeter version of the same poison. Let's name the source of this infection. You have committed the ultimate sin of a sovereign mind. You have outsourced your sense of self. Your internal state is a puppet, and you have handed the strings to the most unqualified, chaotic, and malicious forces imaginable. A stranger's comment online can ruin your day. A dip in the stock market can send you into a spiral of panic. The curated highlight reel of someone you barely know can trigger a crisis of self-worth. You have no internal command center. You have no fortress. You are an open city, and you have given every passing barbarian, every algorithm, and every headline a key to the gates. This isn't living. It is the most profound form of slavery. If you continue on this path, the future is not a sudden dramatic flameout. It is far worse. It is a slow, quiet, fade into grey. You will become a ghost at the feast of your own life. You will sit on the sidelines, a spectator of the bold, a connoisseur of regret. You will be haunted by the echoes of the person you could have become, the leader, the creator, the parent, the partner. If only you had been willing to endure the fire of the forge. You will reach the end, look in the mirror, and see not the scarred, weathered face of a warrior who fought, but the smooth, unblemished face of a coward who hid. That is the true cost. That is the hell of the Unforged. And we are here to pull you from its gates. You think this weakness is new? You think your anxiety is a special product of the 21st century, a unique poison brewed by smartphones and social media? That is the most comforting lie the sickness tells you. Because if the problem is modern, then the ancients have no answers. But the Stoics saw this coming 2,000 years ago. They looked into the soul of man and diagnosed the eternal disease. What you are feeling is not the shock of a new world. It is the ancient, predictable collapse of an undefended mind. They saw it in the panicked merchants of Rome, in the wavering soldiers before battle, and in the trembling senators facing a tyrant's decree. The arena has changed, warrior, but the flaw in the fighter remains exactly the same. The diagnosis, forged by men who lived and died by it, is brutally simple. You have mistaken the map for the territory. You have confused the event with your story about the event. Epictetus, a slave who became one of history's most formidable thinkers, laid it bare. Men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of them. That critical email is not what shattered your day. It was your judgment that the email signified a threat to your worth. The stock market crash is not the source of your panic. It is your judgment that your security is now gone. You are not reacting to reality. You are reacting to a torrent of panicked, undisciplined, and utterly optional judgments that you have allowed to run rampant in your skull. This isn't a weakness, it's a catastrophic failure of perception. Think of your mind as a throne room. Every external event, a news headline, a comment from your boss, a change in your plans, is a messenger arriving at the gates. The unforged mind, your mind, flings the doors open and immediately crowns every single messenger as king. A messenger named fear arrives, and you bow, handing over your kingdom. A messenger named doubt appears, and you immediately surrender your strategic plans. A messenger named outrage pounds on the door, and you give it the keys to your emotional treasury. The Stoic, the forged warrior, does the opposite. They stop the messenger at the gate. They strip it of its emotional uniform and interrogate it. You are just an impression, not the thing you claim to represent. Let me see what you truly are. Are you within my control or not? You are fragile because you have no guards at your gate. This leads to the core of the rot, your addiction to externals. You have been trained to build the entire foundation of your self-worth on things you absolutely do not control. The praise of others, the balance in your bank account, your job title, the health of your body, your partner's mood. The Stoics called these indifference, not because they didn't matter, but because placing your core identity in them was the strategic equivalent of building your fortress on a tectonic fault line. It is a guarantee of collapse. Every tremor of the outside world becomes a life-threatening earthquake to your soul. Your constant anxiety is the logical, predictable, and inevitable result of this insane architecture. You are a beggar, pleading for stability from a world that is defined by chaos, and the sickness has given you a sacred justification for this slavery, the worship of feelings. You have been taught the most destructive lie of the modern age, that your initial emotional response is the ultimate truth. If you feel fear, it must be a sign of real danger. If you feel offense, you must have been truly wronged. If you feel doubt, you must be on the wrong path. The Stoics knew this was madness. They understood that your feelings are nothing more than primitive, initial impressions. They are the raw, unrefined ore. They are not the finished steel. Your fragility is a direct result of obeying the first flash of emotion as if it were a divine command. You have given your most primitive instincts the final say over your most evolved capacity, your reason. Because of this, the central muscle of your soul has atrophied. The Stoics called it the hegemonikon, your ruling faculty, your command center. It is the part of you that chooses, judges, and assents. It is the only thing that is truly yours. Every time you let an external event dictate your mood, you are letting that muscle wither. Every time you let an automatic feeling make your decision, you are starving it of exercise. You break under pressure not because the pressure is too great, but because your capacity to bear it has been systematically weakened by a lifetime of neglect. You are trying to lift a boulder with a muscle you haven't trained in years. Of course you shatter it. It's a failure of training, not a defect of character. So listen closely, warrior. This is not your unique personal failing. This is the default human condition. The sickness of the unforged is the natural state of an untrained mind. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the world, filled his journals with exercises to fight this very disease. Seneca, one of the richest men in Rome, constantly drilled himself to be free from his attachment to externals. This diagnosis is not a condemnation. It is a liberation. You are not fundamentally broken. You are not a glass cannon by design. You are a steel blade left out in the rain to rust. You are simply untrained. And that is a condition we are about to change. The forge is hot. The hammers are ready. It is time to begin the work. The forging begins. We will not start with a technique. We will not start with a cheap mental trick. We will start by laying the foundation stone of your fortress, the bedrock upon which all strength is built. If you do not grasp this, if you do not burn it into the marrow of your bones, everything else is useless. It is the first brutal law, the prime directive of the Stoic warrior, the law of the sovereign territory. This law states that you will draw a line in the sand of your own soul. On one side lies your kingdom, the only things you truly control. On the other lies the entire rest of the universe, the foreign lands you do not. Your only duty, your entire life's work, is to defend the border of your kingdom with absolute, merciless vigilance. What is inside this sovereign territory? What is this kingdom that is yours and yours alone? It is smaller than you think and more powerful than you can imagine. It contains only three things: your judgment, your will, and your chosen actions. That's it. Your perception of events, your decision to move toward or away from something, your disciplined response. This is the throne room of your mind, the command center of your inner citadel. Everything, and I mean everything else, is outside your walls. The economy, the weather, political turmoil, what your boss thinks of your report, whether someone cuts you off in traffic, even your own health in the long run. All of it is foreign territory. It is not yours to command, and yet you have spent your entire life committing the highest treason against yourself. You have flung the gates of your kingdom wide open and allowed every foreign barbarian, every petty warlord, and every screaming peasant to march in and sit on your throne. A critical comment from a co-worker, a foreign power, is allowed to dictate your internal peace for the rest of the day. A dip in the stock market, a foreign power, is allowed to seize control of your emotional state and send your armies of anxiety into a panic. The curated photograph of a stranger's vacation, a foreign power, is allowed to pass judgment on your own life's worth. You have willingly, foolishly, made yourself a colony of the outside world. Your fragility is not a character flaw, it is a political catastrophe of your own making. You do this because you are addicted to the illusion of control over things you cannot command. You believe that if you just worry enough, plan enough, or get angry enough, you can somehow force the foreign lands to bend to your will. This is insanity. It is the strategic equivalent of standing on the beach and screaming at the tide not to come in. You exhaust your resources, you shatter your spirit, and you waste your one precious life fighting unwinnable wars on battlefields you do not own. Your constant anxiety is the battle fatigue of a soldier who has been ordered to conquer the entire planet with his bare hands. It is an impossible, soul-crushing mission. The first brutal law is your liberation from this madness. It is not an act of surrender, it is the ultimate concentration of force. True power is not the ability to control the storm. True power is the absolute, unshakable control of the ship in the middle of that storm. You stop wasting energy trying to command the waves, and you pour every ounce of your strength into commanding the rudder. You let the world rage. You let people have their opinions. You let events unfold as they will. You observe it all from the high walls of your fortress, a vigilant scout watching the movements of a foreign army. You gather intelligence, you assess threats, but you never ever let them through the gate. Inside your mind, you are the absolute monarch. This is not a metaphor, warrior. This is your new operational command. From this moment forward, before you allow yourself to feel anger, fear, or despair about any event, you will stop. You will halt the emotional reaction at the gate, and you will challenge it with a single question. Is this inside my sovereign territory? Is this my judgment, my will, or my action? If the answer is yes, then command it. Refine your judgment, direct your will, take disciplined action. If the answer is no, if it is an external event, another person's behavior, or a twist of fate, then you have only one command: acknowledge and adapt. You treat it as information, not an invasion. You do not surrender your inner peace to something you do not control. Live by this law, and you will begin to feel a shift. The constant low-grade hum of anxiety will begin to quiet down, replaced by the calm, focused silence of a sentry on watch. You will stop bleeding emotional energy on things that are not yours to change. You will become an archer who cares intensely about the aiming, the draw, and the release, but who accepts the flight of the arrow and the gust of wind with equanimity. The world will continue to throw stones, but for the first time, it will find your walls are manned. This is your first duty. This is the end of your treason. Your watch begins now. Guard the gate. A law is nothing but ink on paper until it is enforced by steel. You have the blueprint for your sovereign territory, but a map is not a fortress. Now comes the forging. Now we take this law out of the abstract and hammer it into the grit and chaos of your daily life. This is where the coward breaks and the warrior is made. Every moment, from the ringing of your alarm to the closing of your eyes at night, is a training ground. Every irritation, every setback, every temptation is a sparring partner sent to test the integrity of your walls. Do not curse these moments. Welcome them. They are the resistance that will build your strength. The war for your mind is not won in a single glorious battle. It is won in 1,000 small disciplined skirmishes fought every single day. Let's start with the first enemy you face each morning, the siren song of the warm bed. The alarm shrieks. Your body is heavy. Your mind, still slick with dreams, whispers the great lie of comfort. Just 5 more minutes. You deserve the rest. The day can wait. This is the first barbarian at your gate. The unforged mind surrenders immediately. You hit snooze, and in that single, seemingly insignificant act, you have declared treason against your own will. You have allowed a fleeting feeling, laziness, to become the king of your morning. The forged warrior's response is different. They recognize the feeling for what it is, a foreign messenger. It is not them. It is an impression. They apply the law. Is this feeling of lethargy within my control? No. Is my action of putting my feet on the floor? Yes. And they move. They win the first battle before the sun is even up. This small act of disciplined violence against your own weakness sets the tone for the entire day. Now, you are in your car, and another driver cuts you off, nearly causing an accident. A surge of hot, white rage floods your chest. Your knuckles turn white on the steering wheel. This is a surprise attack. The Inner Inquisitor screams for retribution. It wants you to lean on the horn, to curse, to let this stranger's incompetence poison your entire state of being. This is the test. Stop. Apply the law. Is this person's reckless driving inside my sovereign territory? The answer is a deafening no. You cannot control them. You cannot teach them a lesson. You cannot undo what was done. What is inside my territory? Your breath, your focus on the road ahead, your judgment about the event. You choose to see it not as a personal insult, but as simple neutral data. There is an unskilled driver on this road. I will increase my following distance and remain vigilant. You have taken the fire of rage and used it to fuel the engine of your own awareness. You have refused to surrender your kingdom to a fool. The arena shifts to your work. You are facing a terrifying deadline, or you are about to give a presentation to people whose opinions you value. The cold tendrils of fear and self-doubt begin to constrict your throat. The voice whispers, "You are going to fail." They will see you are a fraud. You are not ready for this. This is the enemy's siege warfare. It tries to starve you into submission from within. The unforged mind buckles. It procrastinates. It focuses on the million disastrous outcomes it cannot control. The forged warrior brings the focus back inside the walls with brutal precision. They ask, is the audience's reaction in my control? Is the final outcome in my control? No. Then, is the quality of my preparation in my control? Is the passion in my delivery in my control? Is my commitment to doing my absolute best, regardless of the outcome, in my control? Yes. You pour every ounce of your energy into those things and those things alone. You act in spite of the fear, proving that it has no authority over your actions. Now comes pain, the burn in your muscles during the last set of squats, the sting of a harsh critique on a project you poured your soul into. Pain, both physical and emotional, is the enemy's most effective weapon because it feels so personal, so real. It screams, "Stop, retreat, this is damaging you." The Stoic response is to become a surgeon of the mind. You must learn to separate the clean cut of the sensation itself from the dirty, infected wound of your story about the sensation. The burn in your legs is just a signal from your nerves. It is not a sign you are weak. The critique is just a collection of words. It is not a final verdict on your worth. You apply the law. This sensation exists. It is outside my will, but my assent to suffering, my judgment that this pain is unbearable or that this criticism defines me, that is inside my kingdom. You endure the sensation, but you refuse to create the suffering. The ultimate test, loss. A relationship ends. You lose your job. A loved one is gone. This is not a skirmish. This is the full-scale invasion. The world outside your walls is on fire. It is natural to feel the heat. It is human to grieve. Stoicism is not the absence of feeling. It is the refusal to be destroyed by it. The unforged mind allows the external fire to breach the gates and burn the citadel to the ground. Despair becomes king, but the warrior, even amidst the smoke and ruin, stands on the walls of their inner fortress and applies the law. This event is catastrophic, but it is external. It has happened. What is within my sovereign territory right now? My next breath. My choice not to reach for a bottle. My decision to call a friend. My commitment to honor what was lost by living with virtue. In the heart of tragedy, you find your indestructible core. You learn that your fortress can withstand even the apocalypse. Do you see it now, warrior? This is the great turning point. This is the moment you realize that nothing, Absolutely nothing in the outside world has the power to break you. It can hurt you, it can challenge you, it can kill your body, but it cannot touch your inner citadel unless you lower the bridge and invite it in. Your fragility was never a fact. It was a choice. It was the result of 1,000 daily surrenders, 1,000 acts of treason against your own sovereign mind. Your strength, your armor, will be forged in the same way, through 1,000 daily acts of disciplined defiance, by guarding the gate against laziness, anger, fear, pain, and despair. You are not just managing your emotions. You are seizing the throne of your own soul. You are becoming unbreakable. And so, a quiet begins to settle. Not the silence of an empty world. The world is as loud and chaotic as it has ever been. No, this is a different kind of quiet. It is the silence inside your own skull, the constant, high-pitched scream of anxiety, the low, grinding hum of dread. It fades. It is replaced by the calm, steady rhythm of a sentry walking the battlements of a well-guarded fortress. The storm still rages, the waves of chaos still crash against the shore, but for the first time, you are not the ship being torn apart by the tempest. You are the lighthouse, rooted in bedrock, casting a steady beam into the darkness, unmoved and untouchable. This is the first dividend of your discipline, a peace that is not dependent on circumstance. Before, you were a slave to fear. It was your master, your God. Its whisper was your command. The mere thought of failure, of criticism, of pain was enough to send you scurrying back into the safety of your cage. You were the glass cannon, terrified of the recoil from your own shot. Now your relationship with fear is transformed. You see it for what it is, a primitive biological alarm. It is data, not a directive. It is the growl of a guard dog, not the verdict of a judge. You still feel it, but it no longer has a vote. You move toward the difficult conversation, you launch the ambitious project, you take the calculated risk, not because you are fearless, but because your will is now stronger than your fear. You have learned that the pain of regret is infinitely heavier than the pain of failure. Your mind, once a chaotic marketplace of conflicting opinions and panicked emotions, becomes a disciplined command center. The fog of doubt lifts. Decisions, once agonizing struggles that left you paralyzed for days, become clear and sharp. The endless loops of what if are severed by the brutal blade of your new logic. Is this within my control? Yes or no? If yes, act. If no, adapt. You stop wasting cognitive energy on unwinnable wars. The Inner Inquisitor, that saboteur who once held the throne, is now a prisoner in the dungeon. You can still hear its pathetic whispers from time to time, but its voice is weak, its arguments hollow. You are the monarch now. You consult your reason, you command your will, and you execute with precision. This internal revolution will not remain hidden. It will carve itself into your physical being. Look in the mirror, warrior. Your posture is different. That defensive slump, the posture of a perpetual apology, has been replaced by an upright stance. Your shoulders are back. Your chin is up. Your gaze is no longer darting and anxious. It is steady, direct, assessing. You walk with a purpose that was absent before. You are no longer a container for anxiety. You are a weapon, honed and ready. People will notice. They won't know what it is, but they will feel it. They will sense the density, the solidity of your presence. You have stopped being a question mark and have become a statement. Your relationships will be reforged in this fire. Before, you were an emotional black hole, your fragility draining the energy of those around you. Your need for constant reassurance, your volatility under pressure, it made you a liability, a child in an adult's body. Now, you become a pillar, a rock. When crisis hits, when others are panicking, they will look to you and find not a mirror of their own fear, but a bastion of calm. Your ability to absorb pressure without cracking, to think clearly amidst chaos, becomes a source of strength for your family, your team, your partner. You stop taking from them and start giving. You become the one who can bear the weight. This is how respect is earned. This is how true bonds are forged. You will finally understand the meaning of freedom. The world has sold you a cheap, counterfeit version. Freedom is the absence of rules, the endless pursuit of comfort and pleasure. That is not freedom. It is the most sophisticated form of slavery, chaining you to your weakest impulses. What you are building is true, sovereign freedom. It is the freedom from the tyranny of a stranger's opinion, the freedom from the emotional devastation of a market crash, the freedom from the crippling fear of what might happen. It is the internal liberty to choose your character and your actions in any circumstance. You are no longer a puppet jerked around by external events. You have seized your own strings. This is not a temporary state, warrior. This is not a mask you put on. This is a new identity, forged in the fires of daily discipline. The weak, fragile person you were is a ghost, a memory of a former life. Every time you chose discipline over comfort, every time you guarded the gate of your mind, you hammered that old self into a new shape. You are no longer defined by your feelings. You are defined by your choices. You have finally understood the ultimate truth. The goal was never to silence the chaos of the world. It was to build a fortress inside yourself so powerful that the chaos began to sound like silence. You don't need the world to be at peace. You are the peace. Philosophy is a coward's game if it stays in the mind. A map of the battlefield is useless if you never learn to wield a sword. All this knowledge, all this fire we have ignited is nothing but smoke if you do not forge it into a daily weapon. You need a ritual, a drill, a sequence of mental violence so ingrained in your muscle memory that you can execute it in the heart of a firefight, blindfolded, with chaos erupting all around you. This is not a meditation. This is a battle cry. We call it the Citadel Invocation. It is a 60-second declaration of war against your own weakness, and it begins the moment the first arrow leaves the enemy's bow. The first step is the most critical, for it is the one the coward always skips. When the attack comes, the critical email lands, the bad news flashes on your screen, the wave of self-doubt crashes over you. Your instinct is to flinch, to look away, to pretend it isn't happening. No more. Your first action as a warrior is to turn and face the enemy head-on. You will name the threat with brutal clarity. This is step one. Acknowledge the siege. You will say it, either out loud or in the silence of your command center. I have just received harsh criticism. The market is falling and my investments are at risk. I am feeling a powerful wave of fear about the future. You do not soften it. You do not analyze it. You simply identify the enemy force massing at your gates. You see it for exactly what it is. Once the enemy is identified, you immediately create separation. You establish the kill zone. This is where you remind the invading force that it has no jurisdiction inside your walls. This is step two. Draw the moat. You must sever the connection between the external event and your internal state. You will speak this truth with the force of a royal decree. That is an external event. It is information. It is weather. It is noise from a foreign land. It has no access to my mind, my will, or my soul, unless I am the traitor who grants it entry. You are drawing a line in the bedrock of your being. On that side is the chaos of the world. On this side is the unshakable calm of your command. You are reminding yourself that the arrow flying through the air is not the wound. The wound is created only if you choose to impale yourself upon it. Now, with the enemy identified and the moat drawn, you seize the offensive. You man the walls. This is not a passive defense. It is an active assertion of your power. This is step three. Man the walls. You will now issue your commands to the only army you control, your own mind. You will reaffirm your sovereign power with a declaration of intent. You will say, I will not be broken. I will not be ruled by fear. I will not surrender to doubt. I am the commander of this citadel. I will assess this information calmly. I will act with virtue and reason. I will choose my response from a place of strength, not from a place of panic. This is you, the monarch, ascending the throne and reminding every panicked courtier in your mind who is in absolute, unquestionable control. Let's run the drill, warrior. Your phone buzzes. A headline: Global economy on brink of collapse. The old you, the unforged you, would feel that jolt of ice in your stomach. Panic would begin its assault. Now you invoke the citadel. 1. Acknowledge the siege. A news headline is predicting economic crisis. 2. Draw the moat. This is external. Information. It is noise. It has no power over my inner state. 3. Man the walls. I will not fear. I will not panic. I will focus on what I control today. My work, my discipline, my character, my actions will be my response. Do you feel that? The panic hits a wall of steel and dissipates. The entire emotional invasion is repelled in under a minute. The world screamed, and your fortress did not even tremble. This is your new practice. This is your daily sparring. Every flicker of anxiety, every sting of insult, every wave of frustration is your signal to run the drill. In the beginning, it will feel clumsy. You will be slow, but with repetition, it will become instinct. It will become a reflex, faster than the emotional flinch it is designed to replace. You are carving new pathways in your brain, replacing the well-worn roads of panic and despair with the fortified highways of discipline and control. This simple 60-second ritual, practiced with the relentless consistency of a master swordsman, is the hammer and anvil. It is the tool that will take the soft, rusted iron of your old mind and forge it, blow by deliberate blow, into unbreakable steel. The work is hard. The work is daily. Begin. The forge cools, but the steel remains. Look at what you have become. The brittle glass has been shattered, melted down, and hammered into something new. The sickness of the unforged, that creeping rot of comfort and fear, has been burned out of you. You have walked through the fire. You have learned that the enemy was never the storm, but the traitor within who left the gates of your mind undefended. You have faced the Inner Inquisitor, dragged it from your throne, and thrown it in the dungeon where it belongs. The person who started this journey does not exist anymore. In their place stands a warrior, scarred, hardened, and finally in command. We have not given you theories. We have given you an arsenal. The law of the sovereign territory is no longer a concept. It is the granite foundation of your fortress. You know the borders of your kingdom, your judgments, your will, your actions, and you guard them with merciless vigilance. The Citadel invocation is not a prayer. It is your battle drill, your immediate response to enemy contact, executed with the cold precision of a veteran soldier. These are not tools for quiet contemplation. They are weapons for the chaos of your daily life, the hostile boardroom, the unexpected crisis, the deafening noise of the digital world. You are armed now. Act like it. The world did not get quieter, warrior. The chaos did not cease. The headlines will still scream, the critics will still snipe, and fate will still be a cruel and unpredictable master. But the noise no longer penetrates your walls. You have finally understood the ultimate truth. The goal was never to silence the world. It was to build a fortress inside yourself so powerful that the world's chaos began to sound like silence. You are the calm at the center of the hurricane. You are the lighthouse that does not bend to the waves. Your peace is no longer a fragile gift from the outside world. It is a declaration of war you make from within. This is your new reality, and it is governed by a single, unbreakable decree. Burn this into your soul. Let it be the first thing you hear in the morning and the last thing you affirm at night. This is the oath of the Stoic warrior. Let the world bring its fire. Let it bring its storms. My mind is the fortress. My will is the gatekeeper. I do not break, I do not bend, I endure, I command. This is not a hope, it is a law. It is the constitution of your sovereign self. The forging is never truly over. If this battle has ignited the steel within you, then prove it now. Go to the comments and write the decree that will guide your days. Make it your own. Let it be your public oath. Share this call to arms with another warrior who needs to be pulled from the fire. Subscribe to this channel to continue honing your blade. Discipline is a daily war, fought on 1,000 fronts. We will see you in the arena.